Sí, ¿con quién hablo? Y las preguntas, yo necesito saber mi hermano. ¿Cómo está mi hermano? Sí, pero necesito que me conteste una pregunta. No, tú me tienes, yo te tengo, tú me tienes que responder y lo hacemos hoy mismo, pero necesito que me respondas. No bueno, por favor, necesito saber de él, yo quiero hablar con él, yo quiero saber que está bien. Vamos a responder que está bien,
Escucha lo que te voy a decir. Móntate en el carro ahorita ya, agarra los dólares, móntate en la vida de mi hermano.
Aló. Buenas noches, señor Enrique Jiménez. ¿Cómo estás tú? Bien, cuénteme. Bueno, vale. Oye, yo necesito hablar con Kenny, chamo. Ok. Fíjate tú, lo que yo tengo ahorita son $1,750 y 500 euros. Mañana tengo otra reunión al banco para ver qué logro. Y tengo mucha promesa porque no hay divisa en este país, la vaina está bien jodida. Entonces la gente, mañana tengo reunión con ella y mañana tengo todo el país, pero la vaina está bien.
Mira, tenemos 2, 4, 6, 7 puntos de agenda para que tengamos cierta dinámica.
Tenemos ya.
We've been busy with the case for 14, no, 15 days.
Is this the victim?
Sí.
Yes.
Y este caso tiene la particularidad.
This case is unusual in that it is the third abduction from the same family.
He started out as a forklift operator.
Who do you mean?
The father. He gradually worked his way up in aviation and became quite wealthy. He didn't want his children to go through what he had. And so he sent his 3 sons to university. But this one was a wild boy. He didn't study. He's about 2 meters tall and very vain.
Fíjense ustedes, pues.
Regarding the ransom,
El monto que están pidiendo es muy alto.
they're asking a very high price,
Extremadamente alto.
extremely high.
Tratan.
And they're trying to hide their inexperience by what they've seen in films.
Con conocimientos peliculeros, tratan de asimilar una
They're trying to
conducta.
simulate the behavior of professional kidnappers.
Como es el caso de la gasolina, que apenas empezamos a cobrarla y lo que se estableció tiene que ver con invertir el patrón de consumo de la gasolina. Federación Médica Venezolana advierte que la gente se está muriendo de mengua. El presidente de la organización, Douglas León Atera, informó que el próximo miércoles hará una acción de calle para exigirle al gobierno que declare la crisis humanitaria en materia de salud. Exhortó a la asamblea.
Buenos días. Gracias, hermano.
Todo este sector es también.
This whole sector is high risk.
Depende de la zona.
It depends on the time.
Las horas aquí son entre
Not right now.
7:30 de la mañana.
The crucial times are between 5:30 and 7 a.m. and from 6:30 p.m. to 1
hasta la
a.m.
1 de la mañana. Este es un sector.
Then this
muy
sector is
peligroso
very dangerous for
en el tema de
kidnappings.
secuestro. Esta parte. Este es Caurimare.
In this area of Caurimare, access to the highway makes it easier for the abductors to get away.
En la huida los secuestradores.
Venezuela holds the world record for the number of kidnappings.
It's incredibly complicated.
Bueno, pienso yo, primero yo dirijo una empresa de aviación en el aeropuerto Caracas.
Firstly, I operate a company in the airport zone of Caracas. The airport is a big blank space which attracts kidnappers because there are people with private planes who have money and many companies. The pilots are paid in dollars. The owners have dollars and economic clout. The managers of companies have high salaries paid in dollars. All this means the place has become a target for those in this marginal zone who are looking to make some easy money. In April of this year, they abducted me. We went through a terrifying period of 4 days, which for me lasted an eternity. You talk to your abductors all day, under constant threat of death, a gun to your head. You die if we don't get the money. Psychological terror. Not only yours, but also your families. Imagine what it's like for them. And you, who've been kidnapped, have to calm your abductors. Don't rip off my chain, I'll give it to you. You can have my watch, no violence. I'm going to kill you. Don't worry, you're in control here. You want money? I get it. It's your job. Let's do it calmly. In the end, after all this terror, we agreed on a final amount around $10,100 or so. That was April 6th. Now it's November, and another of my sons has been abducted. We're terrified again. These guys say they're organized, that they can wait 6 months. They're asking for a ludicrous sum, $1 million, and no negotiations. Who can get $1 million just like that? They think this is Hollywood.
According to international insurance companies, worldwide 30,000 people are kidnapped every year. In the early 1970s, for the insurance companies, based for 300 years in the heart of the City of London, the hub of global finance, a new market opens up.
The opening of the business world brought in new signs of wealth into very poor regions. So one of the endemic situations that brings about kidnapping is the disparity between the very rich and the very poor. And in Latin America, then, even to this day, you still have huge wealth gaps in Africa and other parts of the world. But Latin America is particular because this is where kidnapping really gets going, where financial kidnapping really gets going. The difference between the wealth and the poor was so great, but until globalization, until foreign investment started pouring into these areas, it wasn't so obvious. It was something they'd live with. But suddenly you have Western companies coming in, setting up large corporations. There's much more wealth being created, and they're in a very disparate situation. They have no way that they can see that they're going to get from where they are to where these people are. And crime and kidnapping is one of those routes that they've followed. Lloyd's is noted for being an innovative marketplace, so people were more receptive to unusual ideas for insurance. Whereas traditional insurance companies worked on tariff bases, they insured buildings against fire, against physical damage, people eventually against theft, auto insurance, all those sort of things. But they're very straightforward, very predictable types of insurance. Lloyd's is much more able to create new ideas for insurance, to come up with new types of insurance that haven't been thought of before. And kidnap insurance was one of those areas that came into Lloyd's and where Lloyd's responded.
Originally, kidnap and ransom contracts were aimed at multinationals and businessmen. Today, this tailor-made insurance covers athletes, journalists, NGOs, and now targets families.
And here's what we cover. So the ransom here is what we say, this is how much we are going to reimburse you per event. We are covering the loss of the ransom. So you lose the money gets lost in the delivery, some other gang steals it, something happens to that money and you can have to come up with some other money. So we insure that too. In case there is a death or dismemberment, then there is an additional payment, one sum payment, that could be $100,000, $250,000, depending on the value you contract, that will cover the death or the dismemberment of the person. If they lose a finger, they lose something, there is an additional money that they receive on that. So if you buy a $1 million of coverage, you get $1 million for this, $1 million for this, $1 million for this, and $1 million for this. For crisis response, we talked about unlimited. So the crisis response team can only respond to our policyholder. They have seen a lot of things. They know the difference between how to negotiate a piracy case than a ISIS case and a La Familia kidnapping. They have to know that difference. They have to have seen different cases too and worked on different cases, and that's very important for us.
Chuck Regini. We don't look at the world as fences with fenced-in countries and establishing an office in this country or establishing an office in that country. We're very flexible and look at the world in terms of where are we going to need to support our clients. Wherever HCC policyholders are seeking to do business, and you know, as you might expect, businesses today, in order to be profitable, have to accept greater risks, have to be willing to go into some of the more challenging areas of the world. Hello, David.
Hi, Chuck. How are you?
And then we just have to figure out your timing. That's a lot of travel for you.
Yeah. And we have a huge delay to get the visa. We will have to start our travel from the country where it is the shortest time for us to get the visa.
Yeah.
Which should be Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast, okay.
As far, yeah. And then we could make a turn to Cameroon and then Kenya.
I think Jack, Jens's colleague, he has a Nigerian visa, and he can do the Nigerian task for us.
Excellent.
Chuck, c'est mon N+1, c'est ma chaîne de commandement. C'est la personne à qui
Chuck's my superior. I report back to him from the field. In my role in crisis management and rapid intervention, I'm the one who goes out into the field.
Je suis l'équipe qui est déployée sur le terrain.
Merci, salut.
J'ai besoin de voir des gens qui sont...
I need to see people from the local institutions who can inform me about security. A low risk doesn't mean there's no risk at all.
Il semble peu élevé qu'il n'y a pas de risque. Pour nous, cette capitale, aujourd'hui, est une zone exposée.
These days, we consider this capital to be a danger zone. We've had 2 major attacks in Ouagadougou and Bamako. Analysis of international and national intelligence, research agencies, journalists say that the next potential targets are Dakar and Abidjan.
Et Abidjan. Dakar ou Abidjan.
Dakar or Abidjan. This is a ministerial zone which receives high-ranking people, both local and international. Westerners. Altogether, it makes this establishment a potential target. That's why we visit this place beforehand. The few insurance companies that sell this type of product each have their own negotiators or rapid intervention teams. There are 3, 5, 7 of us per insurance company. There are 5 to 10 companies, so that's 70 to 150 people who are members of rapid intervention teams for insurance solutions in managing special risks.
En matière de gestion des risques spéciaux.
We only bring onto our team individuals that have very deep experience in working the most critical incidents in their various areas of the world. Kidnappings, extortions, communicated threats, missing persons, detention matters, emergency evacuations, all in some of the highest risk areas of the world. Finding people that have a lot of experience doing that sort of thing is not easy. It's not as if you can do a Google search and come up with a list of qualified candidates.
Moi, je travaille pour une solution assurantielle.
I work for an insurance company which pays me to get people out of crisis situations alive.
Si je peux aller plus vite que l'État.
If I'm faster than the state, fine. If the state needs to speak to me, they have my number. It's never happened.
En revanche, il arrive parfois qu'on ne travaille pas forcément.
However, we don't necessarily work in the same direction as the state. In certain detention situations, the state's goal is to stop the criminals.
C'est pas du tout notre objectif. Nous, c'est de sortir.
Our only goal is to get the person out alive, so there can be a conflict of interest. Sometimes the hierarchy decides that we won't talk or won't tell everything to the authorities.
Aux autorités. Ce qui nous met nous-mêmes en porte-à-faux.
It can be awkward.
Mais c'est du business privé.
But it's a private business. I work for a client in a critical situation who is in physical danger.
Qu'un seul objectif.
My only objective is to get him out alive as quickly as possible. That's all. Arresting, judging, not my problem.
This could be the first sequence. This one, yes, this first.
El segundo archivo puede ser.
The second one could be the one you had third. And the sequence that comes fifth or sixth.
Esta banda acostumbraba, antes de empezar a negociar,
this gang was in the habit, even before negotiations began, of sending these images on a memory card.
Cortaban la falange como fe de vida.
They would cut off a digit as a proof of life and proof they were holding the victim to start negotiations.
Para empezar a negociar. Por cada día que pasaran,
with each passing day, they planned to cut off another finger, and another, and another.
Yo quiero un café de eso.
¿Quiere un cafecito?
This time they didn't call me. They know my number's tapped. Everything is recorded and checked. What intrigues me, Miguel, is how they got my wife's number.
I wonder.
She changed numbers 3 months ago, and Kenny doesn't know the number by heart. He put it in his phone. When I was abducted, when they took me, they asked for a number to call. I don't know my wife's number. How come? When I call her, I type her name. Kenny doesn't know the number, and his phone has been inactive since the kidnapping. Inspector Rommel told me. So how do they know this number? She's only had it 3 months. It's very new. Not many people know the number. If the guy phones me, because I don't think he'll call my wife again, they still haven't answered my question. Before going on, I demand proof he's alive.
That's exactly what you must do. That's what I ask of you. You ask them a question that will give us a real possibility of being sure that all is well with Kenny.
I don't make a precise offer.
No. No.
I offer no money.
No money.
If the guy asks how much I have, I tell him to answer the question first.
That's it.
We are in the Maria Cementerio area, where early this morning an abduction was prevented. According to our sources, the presumed kidnappers were shot down while fleeing in 2 vehicles.
...506 muertes violentas, octubre es el segundo mes más violento del año en Caracas.
Nosotros, desde las universidades...
We, in Venezuelan universities, work on the cases that come from civil society. Everything in the press, the victim statements, whatever we can collect in other ways, we use to take the pulse of society over all these years and has enabled us to be an alternative to censorship and the official story. The majority of people don't report being abducted. They don't report it because they think the police will do nothing. They've already paid anyway. They fear that if they report it, they will suffer reprisals from the delinquents. They're also afraid that some of their abductors may be policemen. Some people have told us that on arrival at a police station to report the matter, they've met one of their abductors.
In Venezuela and some other highly exposed countries, it's prohibited to conclude kidnap and ransom contracts.
En Venezuela, los comerciantes, en Venezuela, grupos empresariales.
In Venezuela, businessmen and commercial groups take out private insurances against kidnapping.
Claro, no lo dicen porque es ilegal.
Of course they don't say so because it's illegal, and they must keep it confidential so as to not expose themselves to becoming a victim. They do it legally, but with companies outside the country, contracts abroad are settled in foreign money,
Y se hace de una manera muy callada,
and in a very secret, silent manner, with great caution.
cautelosa.
We cannot go as HCC or Tokyo Marine HCC, go to Colombia and sell insurance policies there. We cannot do that, as we cannot do it in Brazil or in Venezuela, and in Venezuela can go to other countries and buy the coverage in other countries. That's not a problem. We, as I said, we don't pay anything. We reimburse the client for a financial contract set in another country. So if it's forbidden to pay in Colombia, who is paying is the client. But having said that, I don't want it to sound like the client is breaking the law. It's something that the government has to allow them to do because it's their loved one that they need to get back. Forget the insurance. If my daughter's kidnapped, I don't care if there is a law saying that they're going to throw me in jail. I'm going to get my daughter out of there.
Hi, Miguel. How are you?
The police are in the field. The gang holding Kenny is Okumare del Tuy.
¿Ok?
It's not the Guaretano gang, it's Okumare. They've identified 2 or 3 more people. And today, during questioning, it emerged that a person in your close entourage, either within the family or circle of friends, very close to you, is passing on information.
God damn it.
I need for you, today, because the police need this information, to indicate 3 people you suspect and give me their phone numbers. And don't tell anyone. Please.
I won't. What do you think will happen now, Miguel?
The noose is tightening. That's for sure.
¿Ok?
Discipline of hostage negotiation, it's more of an art, certainly, than a science, but those techniques don't change depending upon where you are in the world. There are some incidents, some international kidnappings that are politically motivated, where the demands are political. Those are incredibly high risk to the victim because the demands tend to be unachievable or not things that can be negotiated, such as all the U.S. military out of the Middle East or the release of all of our Muslim prisoners. Something along those lines, obviously, it's not something that can be negotiated. So you have to think, as a negotiator, you're looking at what is the hostage taker's real motivation in this situation. If those are the demands, if they're these unreasonable, non-substantive demands, what is the hostage taker trying to achieve? In those situations, it may be simply the death of the victim.
In the overwhelming majority of cases, The motives for these kidnappings are purely financial. Less than 1% of the total number of abductions perpetrated around the world have a political or terrorist motivation.
And the last thing I remember was...
Good morning, Mr. Marsworth. It's Remi speaking.
Yes, good morning.
Chef tells you have to thank God that we are in their hands. There's many other journalists who were kidnapped in northern Syria and Aleppo, and it's been years and no one knows anything about them. They are transparent people, they are clear people. All what they want is the money from the government, and that's it.
Yes. Yes, but we need to hear our son's voice. We need to be sure that he's all right. Son?
I mean, that's very important for me to be able to talk to my family. Please, Jake.
You go around thinking, oh, he's going to be killed, he's going to be killed. I mean, you have to survive.
The Danish government doesn't pay ransom or anything. We can advise you, but we don't pay.
They told me that since I was an infidel and non-Muslim, and since I was from Denmark, the country that was infamous for the cartoon crisis, you know, the character pictures of the Prophet Muhammad, the religious people have decided issued a fatwa on me saying that it was halal to butcher me. So what do you mean by butcher? And they said, well, we mean butcher. Either we will cut you into pieces, we will cut off first your hand, then your foot, then your head. Or butcher means that we will sell you for money. That's what butcher means. The first moment the kidnappers mentioned that they wanted $20 million to release me, I felt like dying inside. Because at that point I realized I'm not getting out very soon.
Do you know the days, Jeppe?
Yeah. I try to keep track of the days.
To keep check. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah.
But also because I need to keep my mind busy.
Yes. We are going to talk again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Danish time. Okay.
The Sheikh say tomorrow 10 a.m. Danish time. Mafi mushkila.
Mafi mushkila. Have a good sleep tonight.
Jeppe Nibro is the only hostage to have attended all the negotiations of his release. All the exchanges between his abductors and the outside world were carried out in his presence, from his own Skype account, from his own computer.
My old dad managed to take a photo of the screen while I was there on video, and my father was saying, yeah, I'm sorry, the photo is a little bit out of focus, but my hands were shaking. No wonder why.
Seeing your son crying, flanked by two guarded, then they took on the hoods when they were on the screen. With guns in their hands, and my crying son was in the middle.
The starting period from day 1 up to day 5 until the negotiator was introduced, we were the only ones talking to the kidnappers and Jeppe. And then we were told to get in touch with a private company trying to find a professional negotiator that could take over the negotiations with the kidnappers.
And he was presented to us as the savior. And I said, what?
These guys are saviors?
This, yeah. Are we placing our son's life in the hands of this guy.
My father begged, can the family accountant, please, could he be part of the conversation now? And the kidnappers agreed, or Abu Omar said okay. And then the family accountant came into place and he presented himself as Mr. Jens. And I could just hear from the voice that I didn't know who Mr. Jens was. I never heard his voice before. But I also sensed from the very, very first moment that this was a good guy. I get a bit emotional thinking about it. But he had like this very, very soft voice, and he was being very friendly, and he was also saying very clearly to me that don't worry, Jeppe, we will solve this issue.
I needed to build a good rapport with Abu Omar so that he trusted me, and then trusted that I was the representative of the family and that the family was not rich or wealthy, and that would then get us a little away from the government issue and get us closer to being a family negotiating. The voice, the tone, the background noise, everything that is around there, listening to what he says, what kind of guy it is and what happened. Also, the situation, feeling of the situation was important to have. Abu Omar called me at any time of the day, when I was in the car, when I was, everywhere.
Within a few days, almost everything about religion or politics or any other kind of more altruistic agenda was put aside. From that point, it was just money. It was all about money. Money, 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 money. And at least to my experience or how I felt it, it was purely business.
Of course, it's a trade. But of course, you need to find exactly the balance between what is possible. It's not possible to get 20 million. So we can close the deal, the case there, and say it's not possible, goodbye, sleep well. But of course you have to get closer to getting him out. And that's the primary goal of everything, of course. It's not saving money, it's get him out.
One important point of information was that the kidnappers almost never get what they ask for in the first place. It's always a smaller amount they get along with. And that was a comfort, of course.
To forget the 20 million?
Yeah, and very, very, very quickly it was 5 million.
Pricing of Jeppe was never an issue. Never, never, never. You must imagine that we started this fundraising from zero. And then the money collected were piling up to a certain extent. But this was the limit. This was the price. We didn't have any discussion about pricing. We were looking at how much money was collected during this fundraising, and that was our offer. And the only horse trading in that situation was that the first offer given to them wasn't the maximum amount of money that had been collected, so we had a little left to bargain. I didn't take part in that bargaining, my son didn't take part in that. It was Jack and his partners who decided what was going to be the first bid.
Hi, Chuck.
Everyone is busy with all that stuff.
Yeah. It's not the most peaceful country, so probably check up on some sources or things like that, I guess.
I'll send you the link. You take.
Perfect.
Check it out.
Thanks. Great. Thank you, Chuck.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, let me know how it goes.
Very good. Always good to have a contact with him because he listens carefully and he's always, we can always take a problem and then discuss it and then we find a solution. So it's great. He's much more experienced in these matters, and he's as a godfather of this kind of business.
And then the phone Skype call came, and Jens, the negotiator, started with a long speech saying, you know, it's been very difficult to collect all this money. And he was repeating himself again and again, saying it's a normal family, they don't have that much money. They had to talk to friends and family, and I remember the kidnappers were getting like really angry at him and said, cut the bullshit, just tell us the amount. And he was, no, I have to inform you, because it's very important to tell you that it's been a big work for me and the family to collect all this money, and I think we can be very proud that we reached finally, after a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice, and you know, he used so many words.
Because I was not sure that how his state of mind was, and I wanted to hear his voice more to find out, is it maybe not the right time to present it, or is it the right time to present it? And then he wanted to hear. Of course, he wanted to hear. And then he got it.
And then he said the number, and I remember the eyes of Abu Omar, who was still wearing a hood, but I could see his eyes went like this, of pure anger. And he exploded, shouting at the negotiator, saying, you are a traitor, you do not respect me, you are playing games with me, you are making me a fool, this is bullshit, there's nothing more to talk about, now we're going to kill Jeppe, everything is, I mean, you're just treating me like shit, I'm going to treat you like shit now, I'm going to cut Jeppe into pieces and send his bloody parts to his family. And then he started beating me, and he also started whipping me in front of the Skype connection. Not with picture, but with sound.
Yeah, but this is the game. This is the game. This is a part of it. This is unfortunately. Sometimes it goes better than that. Sometimes it doesn't. You don't know in reality what is happening over there. You don't know if they whip the wall and say scream. It sounded pretty natural this time, but you know, it's a part of it. It's you can't avoid that.
He said, I have to thank you, Jens. Thank you for your ridiculous offer. Now, what is going to happen is that the amount that we had been dealing with, the ransom that had been lowered to this level, is now going back to the old level. And that was like a big jump back. And on top of that, the offer you came with, this ridiculous, respectless offer you gave us, I will put that money on top of that ransom. So now you have to pay like even more, and everything is on you. It's your fault, Jens. Everything that's going to happen now, even if Jeppe is going to be killed, that is your responsibility.
I didn't believe at all that they would kill him or hurt him real hard, because it didn't seem that way. Why should they do that? And there was some other things also that indicated that, okay, this was a part of it, but not too bad. You know, it sounds really bad because, oh yeah, fine, you can just do this and that. That was not at all. I didn't feel good about that, but of course not. But I could understand also that we need that reaction, and then we need to get back to the negotiation.
The other thing was that the war around us was getting closer and closer. So I think the kidnappers also were afraid that their own lives were at risk. So they were now like in double trouble. They could risk my life and they could risk their own lives, so they needed a solution. And I think that was the reason that they were ready within a few days after to make a deal. When they finally agreed on the amount of the ransom, then the negotiator asked Abu Omar, so how would you like the money to be transported? How would you like to receive them? And I think to the surprise of everybody, Abu Omar said, well, I would like them to be in a suitcase. And the negotiator said, so what kind of suitcase? Maybe like a Samsonite suitcase. I think he specifically mentioned the brand. And the negotiator said, but then what kind of Samsonite suitcase? And then he said, I would like a suitcase like in the movies. And as far as I remember, the negotiator laughed a bit, and also the kidnapper was laughing. And suddenly there was this like, ha 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 ha, crazy, bizarre deal that the money should be put in this specific Samsonite suitcase that looked like the one they are using in the movies. And Jens said, well, okay, I'll make sure you get it in that suitcase. I think that was like the final piece of a very complicated power game, saying that I'm still the king.
Men hvordan var din oplevelse af ham, chef?
What did you think of Sheikh Abu Omar?
Ja.
A psychopath? Intelligent?
Psykopat?
Bit of both?
Eller var han intelligent?
But was he violent?
Et eller andet imellem.
Abu Omar, psychopaths are often intelligent.
På den voldelige måde.
That level of criminality involves a psychopath or someone very cold.
Fordi man er følelseskold, ikke? Men, fordi den rapport...
In my dealings with him, I didn't feel he was bad. Well, yes, he was bad, but not disdainful, not impenetrable.
Men han var ikke nedladende og uigennemtrængelig.
Nej.
He was clearly intelligent, that's for sure. And he knew how to negotiate. He'd obviously had experience.
Og jeg tror, han havde noget erfaring med det.
Ja, det tror jeg også.
Those are the $1 million ransom, $2 million ransom. It was very common in the past. Now it's not so much. It's not so common anymore. You see it, but not in the same frequency as you see the little ones. Fast, quick and dirty, as they say it here. It's just how you do you invest your time as a bad guy. If you do small ventures, you get more money. And you are always employed, I would think. I hope I'm not giving ideas to the bad guy.
Hi, Miguel, how are you?
Fine, and you?
You won't believe this. I've spoken to Kenny. They've released him. He was found half dead in Santa Teresa. Apparently the police picked him up.
Great news. Great news.
The whole family came round last night. We all got together and he spent the night here. He slept badly, remembering the nightmare he lived.
They fed me little. I got a glass of water each day. And they fed me once every 3 days. I lost 22 kilos while in captivity.
Yo de verdad que no entendí. Yo cuando ellos me liberaron, yo pensé que dije, bueno, mi papá pagó.
When they told me they were letting me go, I thought Dad had paid. I never imagined that the police were closing in on them.
Claro, el trabajo fue meramente de policial, pues de acoso.
Of course they were. The police did most of the work.
Así fue. Nunca dieron una posibilidad de
They kept the pressure up until they had to release you. They left no opening to continue negotiations. None. They stuck to $1 million and wouldn't budge.
The young one guarding me said he needed the money to buy a grenade, a bulletproof vest, and a red Glock gun.
A red Glock? I didn't know that existed.
Me neither. But that's what he told me. I never wanted to travel because I'm afraid of flying. When I think of the United States and see how peacefully normal people live, I find it hard to imagine. You can walk down the street without looking back terrified, worried someone is following you, or being afraid to use your phone in case it's stolen, and go into a mall without fearing your bag will be snatched. It all seems so bizarre, yet that's just normality. It sounds so unreal to me. What we live here in Venezuela is no life at all, and even less after all this.
Naturally, of course.
Kidnapping has grown all over the world as the richest people have fenced themselves off, increased their protection. Now the kidnappers don't look for an abduction that will pay a big sum, but many smaller kidnappings that pay less.
The
motorbike taxi guy who has to sell his bike to pay the ransom ruins himself completely. He has only paid $500, but those $500 enabled him to feed his family and carry on working. Then there's recovery. The middle-class people, rich people, can pay a psychologist to help them. The poor have to make do with saying a prayer to God, for they'll get no other help or protection.